Hare Krishna, everyone. For those of you who don't know, my name is Anand Rupa. And while we wait for others to join in next 1 minute, and Jiva Tattva Prabhuji gets started with this beautiful verse from Srimadbhagavatam, I wanted to welcome you all on these ongoing sessions on Srimadbhagavatam gems. These are selected, chosen verses from first 6 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in a while, we may have some new participants joining at that time. I will identify what is the difference between Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. But for now, I think we are all ready to get started with Srimad Bhagavatam invocation prayers. Let's welcome Jiva Tattva Prabhuji. Let's get started. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are covering a very famous verse from 5th canto, chapter 5, verse 8. So please join us for the invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiryet Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantasthohya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagvat Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let me quickly share my screen. Dear devotees, please join us in the recitation of this verse, Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 5, verse 8. Pumsa striya mithuni bhavametam tayor mithor hridaya ganthim ahuhu atogra kshetra swatapta vitte janasya moho ayamaham mameti. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Translation: the attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. Devi, would you like to read the purport?
Hare Krishna. Okay. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sex serves as the natural attraction between man and woman, and when they are married, their relationship becomes more involved. Due to the entangling relationship between man and woman, there is a sense of illusion whereby one thinks, this man is my husband or this woman is my wife. This is called Hridaya Granthi, the hard knot in the heart. This knot is very difficult to undo, even though a man and woman separate either for the principles of Varnashram or simply to get a divorce. In any case, the man always thinks of the woman and the woman always thinks of the man. Thus, a person becomes materially attached to family, property, and children, although all of these are temporary. The possessor unfortunately identifies with his property and wealth. Sometimes, even after renunciation, one becomes attached to a temple or to a few things that constitute the property of a sannyasi. But such attachment is not as strong as family attachment. The attachment to the family is the strongest illusion. In Satya Samhita, it is said, Brahmadaya Yagvalkadya Muchyate Stri Sahayina Bodhayante Kechana Tesham Vishesham cha vido vidu. Sometimes it is found among exalted personalities like Lord Brahma that the wife and children are not a cause of bondage. On the contrary, the wife actually helps further spiritual life and liberation. Nonetheless, most people are bound by the knots of marital relationship and consequently they forget their relationship with Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Devi. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us in reciting prayers so that we can seek blessings from the seniors, from the Vaishnavas, and from the Acharyas. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So as Devi mentioned earlier, we covered the gems from Srimadbhagavatam, some selected verses. And if you plan to do Bhakti Vaibhav, then these are also very useful because these are the verses as part of that course as well. So today we are looking at this particular verse from the 5th canto that Lord Rishabdev is imparting this knowledge to his sons, headed by the eldest one is Bharat Maharaj. And this helps us get clarity about how to move from illusion of this materialistic, crazy materialistic life to surrender to the Supreme Lord. So Anand Bhai Abhyasat, we are all seeking happiness, right? But then we are looking at the wrong place while the right place has been identified. And in this way, we can also start to move from temporary identity to eternal identity and eternal relationship with Lord Krishna. So again, here in this particular verse, so many wonderful things have been described. And what's amazing is that we spend our lives trying to protect what is not ours and forgetting the one who eternally belongs to us. We are constantly thinking, I have this body. And when we think in this way, this verse is helping us understand that there is a warning about the delusion of aham mameti, I and mine. And now why is this aham mameti related to body? It's so dangerous. We have to understand that also. Because when we say, I'm this body, then we become envious of all other bodies, right? So sometimes people say, oh, I'm an American. Another person will say, I'm an Indian. Someone will say, I'm a European. Everyone is proud of where they belong to. But just by saying that, they are actually putting themselves away and trying to differentiate from others. So when you divide, things fall down, right? United we stand, divided we fall. And so this has a ripple effect. And in current times, we are also seeing this. And what's interesting is what is shown on the camera or in the mirror even is not truth, but people sometimes take that as truth. It's very interesting that how everyone is so impacted by what news is people are saying, what the current trend is going, and things go very much driven in this manner, which is very deteriorating to human life. We should all be understanding what is our eternal relationship. And when we forget that, then this verse comes to help us understand this warning. And so this talk, once again, today I'm presenting this verse with an acronym MINE, M-I-N-E. And why is mind so important? I causes envy when we're relating to the body. And mind causes lust to acquire more and more. Because if other person has more, then everyone else who's seeing that will get impacted and will try to acquire more. And so this aspect of mind is very evident and causes further fall down. And I is not as dangerous, but when combined with mind, it becomes very dangerous and causes big havoc in our lives. So MINE. So M is basically this acronym that I'm using is helping us relate to, from this verse, the materialistic life, the Maya of Aham Mamiti, I and mine. I causes envy, mind causes lust. And both these qualities are actually the Janani, the mother of all other bad qualities that continue to uh, appear. So this illusion that I and mine define reality when related to the body in the material concept, it is causing illusion. But when we truly understand who we are, then we are understanding our eternal identity. So again, we have to look from this perspective that to be able to get to that level, we have to understand who's this material energy is. And, this material world, and Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Devi Hesha Gudamai Mama Maya Duratyaya. This material energy of mind. So we are not the proprietor, but Lord Krishna is the proprietor of this material energy. And I refers to illusion of possessions. So like I was saying, lust is arising. So this illusion of possessing more and more. Sometimes people think that by possessing more, they become happy, which is not true, but that's the trend. So there's a big difference between what true is and what the trend is. So in reality, nothing belongs to us. Everything is Krishna's energy. Why do I say Krishna's energy? Because Lord Krishna is the energetic and everything emanates from him as his energies. So we living entities are the marginal potency. Radharani represents the internal potency, the divine potency, Aladani Shakti. And then we have Mahamaya. And of course, happy Navratri to everyone. So again, this is the time that we worship Goddess Durga. And she is worshipped even by the Vaishnavas because she is a devotee. She's a great devotee of the Lord. And believe me, it's very understanding that sometimes people think that devotees are always calling out to that Maya is so bad. No, the illusion that we are causing, thinking I'm this body, we are the ones who are responsible for causing the havoc. She's actually the examiner. She's testing us in our lives. She's throwing various kind of allurements. And why is she doing this? Why is she doing this thankless service? So that she makes sure that only the qualified candidates, they pass out of this material world and go back to spiritual world. Yet at the same time, she doesn't mind people calling her, from that perspective. But devotees in reality love Mahamaya, means Goddess Durga. She is also known as Vaishno Devi. Vaishno Devi means a she devotee of Lord Vishnu. And of course, the topmost Vaishnava is Lord Shiva, her husband. Vaishnava Nam Yatha Shambhu. And when we look at it from this perspective, everything suddenly seems to change. And we realize that we were looking for enemies outside, but in reality, the enemy is us. We are the ones. So M is the material energy which is causing this Maya of Aham Mamiti, I and mine. That is created by our desire, not her desire. And this illusion of possession is also something that we adopt. She's never saying that. We are getting allured by this. And N is nurturing real identity, who we truly are, right? Our eternal nature is being Krishna's eternal servant. Jivera Surupaya Krishna Nityadas. And E in MINE, E is entering eternal relationship. So again, when we look at identity, then sambandh, that relationship is very important. Without relationship, there is no meaning to identity. So when we talk about someone's identity, we always put that person in relationship to others around that person. So living practically in surrender and devotion, beyond ego and false ownership, that's the mode we should be living in. And that is our true identity. And relationship is Lord Krishna clearly says, if you want to be happy, Mam ekam sharanam vaja. Just exclusively take my protection. And Srila Prabhupada makes it very simple, this big, Sarvadhamam Prityaja, Mam ekam sharanam vaja is chant and be happy. Just take to the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now I'd like to present you this particular talk based on, yes, we will be looking at the teachings from Gita, we'll be looking at teachings from Srimadbhagavatam as well. Yet at the same time, let's not forget that Lord is so merciful that through the acharyas and their stories and their life lessons that they are teaching, it makes so much easier for us to understand things with the right perspective. When Srila Prabhupada came, to America, Boston, when he came to the port, he reflected the true identity by saying, my dear Lord, I'm just a puppet in your hand. So make me dance. So he's completely surrendering to Lord Krishna's will. He's trying to carry out the order of his spiritual master. He didn't come to West to become a wealthy person. He came to West to follow and fulfill the desire of the instruction, the order of his spiritual master. The spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, you are nice, young man. When Srila Prabhupada was just 26-year-old, 1922. And he said that, why don't you, translate these books in English and, for the Western world. Srila Prabhupada didn't just take it from the perspective that he has to print books in English, just translate them. No. He also understood that it has to be taught properly. We can see so many books in the market that talks about how to live, but when you have to practice it, just having books is not important. You need a guide, you need a mentor, you need a guru, you need someone to help you understand. And that's why when we are born, our first guru is our mother. Sometimes people look at the scriptures and they say, oh, there is a predominance is mainly addressed for men, not for women. In reality, very clearly, even this verse, it starts with Pumsa Striya, man and woman. So again, it is the opposite sex. That's the meaning. And because of that relationship, and Srila Prabhupada used to call it skin disease, basically because of this relationship on the bodily level, one becomes attached to the other person. I'll give you an example. Sometimes you see a glass filled with water, right? So what does the water belong to the glass or the glass belongs to water? There's no relationship between the two. It's just a container. So that's a temporary relationship. It's very interesting that once, a man built a very nice house, but he was like talking to and this is an Indian gentleman in America, and he was talking to the architect who was also from Indian origin. He said, you know what? I'm worried. I made such a huge, estate home here. And if another person next to me makes a smaller home, that will bring the value of my property down. He was worried from that perspective. The architect just smiled. He said, everyone on your street is an Indian. When they will look at your house, the next house will be bigger than yours, and the next one will be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So no worries. You don't have to worry about this. This is what material attachment and identifying on the material platform causes one to worry about things that they shouldn't be worried about. And in reality, when we build a house, sometimes people have this tendency to put their name. They say, oh, this is such and such Nivas. They put their last name or something like that. It's very interesting. When they wrote that, the builder wrote under it temporary residence. Now this person said, wait a minute, why are you calling it temporary residence? I'm not renting it, I own it. He's like, will you own it after you're gone? The person understood. And he was so much touched that he actually took that plate down and he said, Lord Krishna's residence. This is a mandir. He called it a mandir from that day onwards. So sometimes even a small gesture can help one take a leap of faith into devotional service. And such examples are very much, something that we should be looking at. Small, small things have so many things, so many great teachings attached to them. Now here, there's one time when Srila Prabhupada, he was typing, Bhagavad Gita, he was translating it. And this was the third time, not the first time. First time when he had translated Bhagavad Gita into English, his wife had by mistake taken the whole manuscript and sold it to the men who, take paper by weight, because she wanted to get some tea leaves. And Srila Prabhupada was very upset with that. Second time, his transcript was stolen in New York. And the young man he was staying with went little crazy. So Srila Prabhupada left everything and, came out. And at that time, Mukund Maharaj, back in those days, he was known by Mr. Michael. So he helped him, situate himself better with other devotees' help. And one day when Srila Prabhupada was typing, right next to him was sitting Professor Howard from North Carolina. And Professor Howard was silently meditating, and suddenly he said, "I renounce the world." Just at that time, Achyutanand Maharaj, he was still, he didn't have the, he was not initiated back in this. He entered the room and he heard Professor Howard saying, "I renounce the world." Srila Prabhupada stopped his typing, looked at him, and he said, "You don't own the world. How can you renounce it?" So this is where Professor Howard, he meditated on this response. He smiled, paid obeisance, and left. Because when you don't own anything, everything is owned by Lord Krishna. Bhoktaram yagatapsam sarvalok maheshwaram. He is the supreme proprietor of everything, all that can be. One man was saying, "Oh, I've got millions of dollars in my bank." And his friend says, "So what will happen once you are gone?" "Oh, it will be transferred over to my sons and daughters." So it's like, "Oh, so you basically have a temporary arrangement that it is in your account, but in reality, it's not owned by you because you cannot take a single penny." The man was meditating on this. And it's like, you make me remind of something that Alexander the Great said. Now, Alexander the Great, why is he called great? Because he went around the world conquering one country after another. Came to India and Chandragupta Maurya defeated him. And he was across the rivers where he got malaria. So he was not being defeated by great generals, but mosquitoes were able to defeat him very quickly. And at the last moment, as he was dying, he was looking at the doctors, the Vaidyas, the medicine men around him who were surrounding him. He said, "I'll give you all the gold in the world if you can give me more time." And then they responded, "Even if you give us all the gold in the world, we cannot help you live a second more than what is destined to you." Sometimes people think that this is a good punchline and they stop here. But in reality, Alexander, as he was nearing his death, he told his generals and everyone, saying that, "When I die, leave my hands empty and open." So they were surprised. Why would you want to do that? Because their tradition is, they're nicely bedecked with gold and jewelry and coins and so forth. So they're loaded up normally. But he said, "Keep my hands empty as I am leaving." And they did that. But they wanted to know, why did he say that? So he revealed to them that actually he came and he made so many conquests. I mean, he conquered so many kingdoms, but at the end, he cannot take a single penny with him. So this is to signify that life is so fluctuating. And so this illusion, Maya of Aham Mameti, that's something we have to be very much beware of. And as this verse says, Pumsa striya mituni bhavametam. So this is like a skin disease. Man and woman, they become attached to each other on a bodily platform. Right? Tayor mitur hridaya granthi. So this hridaya granthi, the knot in the heart is developed. So this attachment that develops. And this causes havoc in our life because if we are on the bodily platform level, then it is very difficult to understand that that mind is actually owning me. How do I explain this? So there is a very simple example people have seen that they work extremely hard to take care of their families, to take care of their wife, their children, and their home and everything. So who really owns who? That's the question that can be asked. Do they own the house or the children or the wife, or actually all these different things or beings own them? Once Srila Prabhupada was walking in Vrindavan, and a man was taking his cow, and he's talking about, this is my cow. Srila Prabhupada said, but then why are you holding to the rope? Just let the rope go. And as soon as he let the rope go, the cow went one way and he immediately ran after her. Srila Prabhupada said, look, who's actually owning who? This is very clear. Because once you own something, it belongs to you, it follows you. And apparently, this man cannot, he's actually being owned by the cow in this particular case, as we can understand from that conversation and that revelation. Similarly, in life, we have to look at things that actually own us. Sometimes people, they look at phones and they are very much attached to the phone. iPhone 17 Pro came out and everyone is going crazy to get it. And anytime somebody, refers, or what phone do you have? They say very proudly, I have got such and such iPhone 17 Pro. I just ordered it. Great, you ordered it. But who's really owning who? Because you are attached to the phone. The phone has no attachment to you. And tomorrow you will just trade it and it will belong to someone else, as per the saying. But in reality, the phone will be the master of some other person, another being. So this is the material energy which causes this illusion. So this maya of aham, mamiti, I and mine keeps us entangled in this material world. And this idea of I and mine is the root cause of material bondage. And everything belongs to Krishna. Bhaktaram yagatapsam sarvalok maheshwaram. So all the sacrifices, charity, austerities that we perform, the only beneficiary of all this is Lord Krishna. And Sarvalok Maheshwara, he is the supreme proprietor of everything that there is, spiritual and material. So we are in this material world, but we are not of this material world. We have to understand we are not this body, we are spirit souls, eternal servant of Lord Krishna. But we are trying to preserve these material things, thinking that we'll enjoy them. In reality, these are the things that are keeping us bound in this material world. So as we are continuing to look at Maya of aham mameti, this material energy is causing this. But in reality, we are looking at the material energy and interpreting it in this way. So long we have this conception that I am this body and this is mine, we are in illusion. We are in Maya. So that's how we understand what Maya is. Maya is illusion, that which is not. So we are taking what is false to be the truth in reality. Sometimes people look at their reflection in the mirror and they say, this is mine. It is my reflection. But how could it be yours? Because it moves with me. Well, as soon as you move out of the mirror, it doesn't move with you anymore. There's no reflection. So it doesn't exist for your sake, but in reality, for some other person, it may still exist. And similarly, the shadow. We cannot control the shadow. Once it's dark, the shadow is gone. You can't see the shadow. And you can't even control which direction the shadow comes in. So there are various aspects that help us understand what the real world is all about and how we should be looking at it. So I'm just trying to recall a beautiful pastime by Srila Prabhupada. He would give such deep realizations he would share and give us practical tips. And some of the tips that we can look at it is that during the day when we are living our life How many times do we really reflect on that I'm not the proprietor, Krishna is? That is a good meditation to have. We can offer even small things like food, water, mentally to Krishna. Please, Krishna, accept this. This is what I have brought for you. And we should be presenting the best things because everything belongs to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada used to give this example that there is a man walking, and if he finds, a dollar bill on the road, so he has three choices he can do. First is he can pick it up and put it in his pocket. It belongs to me now. So such a man will be called a thief. Second man would say, I've got nothing to do with this dollar. It is Maya. I'm not going to touch it. He is still impacted, but he has not acted properly. The third person will say, oh, somebody seems to have lost a dollar. Let me return it to that person. Now, when he picks up the dollar, it's not for himself, it is to return to the person who belongs. So, when we talk about the four varnas, the four orders of life, brahmacharya, the student life, grihastha, the married life, and then we have vanaprastha, the retirement stage, and then finally sannyasashram, which is the renounced order of life. In renounced order of life, the true meaning of renounced order of life is that everything belongs to Krishna and should be used in his service. Not to just, I'm renouncing everything. It never belonged to you. But the true order of renounced order of life is that everything belongs to Krishna and should be used in his service. Now, in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada, in a very subtle manner, identified that even sometimes the sannyasis or the residents of temple, they become attached to the temple and things related to the temple. Well, if they are attached to the service of Lord Krishna, that is a great attachment to have. It's very highly recommended and should be, applauded. However, if they are attached that, okay, I'm in this temple, I've got this property, and everything that comes as result of this temple operation is to be used for my sense pleasure or combine everyone's sense pleasure, then Maya's effect becomes very active. So from that particular perspective, material energy can creep in everywhere, wherever we forget that everything belongs to Krishna. It's not the material energy that is causing all this effect. It is our desires, our material desires. So we are in this world, not of this world. We have to understand that we belong to Krishna. We are eternal servant of Krishna, and we can be back home, back to Godhead, to be eternally happy. Anandbhaya abhyasat. We are all seeking happiness. And in this regard, there is a very nice example we can relate to. In India, there is a location in South Delhi called Chanakyapuri, and all the embassies are there, and ambassadors and higher officials, they live in that area. Now, they have big, big houses, they have chauffeurs and servants who work in the house. In reality, if you look at their lives, every morning, the servants, they get up early, they prepare things, they make sure that the master, has left for work, as well as his wife is nicely set and the children have gone to schools, and then they have the whole house to themselves for the whole day. They can eat what they feel like, they can watch TV, they can do all kind of, have nice, really, utilizing the facilities. And in the evening, when the master comes, they make sure that he is nicely taken care of, the mistress is nicely taken care of, the children are nicely taken care of, and the children and everyone goes to sleep, and the cycle repeats itself. If someone was to ask and look at their lives, who's really enjoying in this particular scenario? Because the master is crazily going every morning and doing all the work and coming back. His wife is, having her social gatherings and so forth and doing various activities. The children are off to school. In reality, the property and the facilities that are there are being enjoyed, are being, there for the servants. All the servants have to do is that they have to carry out their activities, with honesty, with determination, with dedication. And it's just, I have to do this, that's a duty mindset. But in reality, if somebody does it with love, then of course that environment really rises. So this relationship that we have with Lord Krishna is that of love, not of duty. So we have to rise above this mode of fear that if I don't serve the Lord, then I will be suffering. Go higher to, I must do it, which is my duty. Higher than that is love. He loves me so much that he never leaves me. And that's why I should be reflecting back on it. So this illusion needs to be broken in a very subtle manner. Now, sometimes people say, well, what kind of things can help me understand this properly? So we can have some questions that we can ask ourselves. Where in my life do I feel most mindness, right? Everything is mine. And how do I react when something I call mine is taken away, right? Which position should I relabel as Krishna's? Everything belongs to Krishna. I know this, but why do I keep attaching myself with these various possessions that are lying around? And how do I practice detachment without neglecting responsibility? Understanding that everything, we can be detached when we engage everything for Krishna's pleasure. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. So when we engage everything for the pleasure of Lord Rishikesha, the master of the senses, then our senses are satisfied. If we engage the same materialistic things for our enjoyment, for our sense gratification, that's like putting clarified water in fire, and the fire only becomes stronger, so our senses become even stronger and wanting more. So we have to understand and ask ourselves, how can I practice detachment without neglecting responsibility? We still have to carry out our duties. And what examples from scriptures can inspire us to lose that knot of aham mameti, the hridayanti, the knot in our heart? Even Queen Kunti in Bhagavatam, she is praying that let my affection for family be cut so that my attraction for you may be fixed. She is praying to Lord Krishna. But she's not saying that I renounce all these children. She's saying that my attachment to them to be cut because I should be seeing them as you have entrusted these as my children, and I should be more attached to you. So in the center is not us, on Kunkanta in this case, but she wants to place Krishna. She wants to place Krishna as a full focus. And we have so many acharyas, they give up their royal opulences. Raghunath Das Goswami, he gave up family wealth to accept only Krishna as his shelter. Now that is true surrender, right? Sometimes, people have this tendency of attaching things and they fall into the illusion of Maya, of Aham Mamiti. It makes us believe in false ownership. But does this illusion tighten? It manifests as possessiveness, the next step in our acronym of MINE. So M was the materialistic life, the Maya of illusion of I and mine. And now this is illusion of possessions, which is caused by the mind aspect, which causes lust to arise. So in this verse, we have seen again that the hard knot is binding us to possessions. And what kind of possessions? These possessions are graha, kshetra, sutapta vittar. Graha is referring to the house. Kshetra is referring to, kshetra is of course the body, and again, the very body that we have, this material body. And sutta, apta. Sutta is children. And apta is referring to the relatives. And vittar is the wealth, the various facilities that we receive. Once a man, gets a lottery and he's like, wow, now I possess so much. So one friend said, now you can start to enjoy your life. But the other friend comes and says, now you have better facilities to serve Krishna better. So whom should he listen to? Right? Of course. It's for his benefit if he uses everything in Lord Krishna's service. Doesn't mean that he gives it all away. He should get the proper guidance so that he can engage everything in Lord Krishna's service and engage himself in the process. Charity begins at home. That he himself takes to such a strong devotional service that he is fully engaged in 24/7 in devotional service. That is the mood. That is the mood. If he just gives it away, then he has no opportunity to practicing bhakti. Practicing bhakti is something that will help us go back home, back to Godhead. So this aspect of illusion of materialistic possession needs to be taken care of proactively. It's not something that as a choice we get, and we can just ignore it in our lives. So attachment to possessions makes one forget that the eternal possessor is Lord Krishna. So we should be very careful when we are looking at possessions around us. These are possessions so that we can advance further in devotion service for the pleasure of Lordship we should be engaging. Ishavasya principle also talks about that everyone has received their quota so that they can engage in devotion service properly. And possessions without dedication to Krishna it's a hook for Maya. So again, just like a fish, just because of the tongue, she gets hooked onto that hook of the fisherman. And similarly, the deer, just by hearing the music, becomes a statue and becomes a good target for the hunter. And an elephant who is looking for the same skin disease we are talking about today, and runs after she-elephant who actually tricks him to fall into a ditch and be caught for life. That is what is going on. Again, various illusions are coming. A camel is eating thorns, and those thorns are actually piercing its gums, and the blood is oozing out. His tongue is getting pierced, and he's thinking, "Oh, these thorns are so tasty," but what's really happening is it's just tasting its own blood. Now, somebody could say, "Yes, it seems like we can give up everything, but it is so hard, right?" So this is Hridaya Daurbalya, weakness of heart, that is causing it. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada used to talk about, he would narrate a very interesting story. So once there was a man, he was walking and suddenly saw that there were big, big elephants, and they were tied in the ground to a nail with very thin rope. And he asked, why are these elephants still standing there? They can just break it and quickly leave. Why are they still in this bondage? So the caretaker, he said, you know what? When these elephants were babies, we got them and we tied them with this rope. And they tried to, break away, break away. They couldn't break away. So they assumed that they cannot break away, with this knot, with the rope tied to the nail. And even though now they have much more powerful, they have understood things, because they have this notion from the past, they are unable to break away. This is the illusion of Maya. This is the illusion of possession. And sometimes we even possess thoughts that cause us to be bound in Maya. So we have to look at possessions we have to look at them as illusions, because we cannot possess anything permanently. Even the name that everyone is so attached, the sweetest word in the world is one's own name. And in reality, once this life is over, even the name doesn't stay with us. It leaves us and we get another name in next life. And we just accept it. And actually that name is given to the body. Now we have to be practical about things. If somebody loses their passport, right, then it's not right to tell, oh, Prabhu, you're not this body, you are a spirit soul, you're eternal servant of Krishna. The person will say, can I use that at the airport? No, of course you cannot use that, because they are relating to your body, right? They are relating with respect to your body. So you have to think with proper perspective. In this regard, I'm actually reminded of a funny short story. So once, in the class, the teacher was asking, who is God? So the children were saying, He's almighty, He's omnipresent, He's omniscient. And there was a small, young Indian kid. He was sitting in the back. Let's call him Himanshu. So Himanshu raises his hand and teacher says, yes, Himanshu, tell me, who is God? And he says, Jesus Christ, He's God. And she's very happy. She comes and gives him $1 as a reward. And she's like, wow, this is amazing. I just got a nice pat on the back as well as $1 in my pocket. I feel good now. So at the end, right next to him was another, kid who was sitting. And he said, Himanshu, why would you say Jesus Christ is God? He said, well, I know Krishna is God, but business is business, because that's how she relates to it. So sometimes we have to give answer based on the receiving authority, not based on our understanding of things. So this is where sometimes lessons come in our lives. That even from children we can learn so many things. That we have to respond based on the audience, who's the person we are addressing, instead of what we know from the Shastras. And we have to stay practical on the ground. Yet at the same time, stay grounded, understanding that we are in this world, not of this world. So we can look at various practical tips that we can practice on a daily basis. Like we should always look at possessions mentally as Krishna's property. Well, this is Krishna himself. Srimadbhagavatam is his literary incarnation. Before buying something, ask ourselves, will this help me serve Krishna better? Sharing possession, sharing is caring, right? Cultivate the mood of yajna, sacrifice. Right? This is how the community develops. And practice offering, our home during our puja, every day when we do aarti, say, my dear Lord, you have very nicely provided this home. Actually, it belongs to you. So I would like to offer it to you, just like a small child. They don't have anything, but they always like to give something to parents as it's a reflection of love. It's an action of love. And of course, charity is always good when done to the right person at the right time at the right place. And we should look at what position do I cling to most strongly, because that's causing illusion, that's causing attachment. How would I feel if Krishna took it away from me now, today itself? Or can I transform my positions into instruments of sacrifice for the pleasure of Krishna? What does it mean that the possessor is possessed by his possessions, right? We talked about this. The man is thinking the cow belongs to him, but actually he belongs to the cow. The man is thinking in his family that the wife belongs to him, but actually she's the one who owns him. The children own the father. So again, this is where we hear about the hunter Ratnakar, who met Devashinara. Devashinara said, "You're killing all these animals and you'll be suffering, for all their sinful actions." And he was thinking that, oh, my family members, my parents, my wife, my children, they will all share. Sayyidina said, have you asked them? The parents, when he asked the parents said, you're our son, it's your responsibility to maintain us. So we are not going to take the reaction of how you maintain us. This is your duty. Wife said the same thing. The children said the same thing. This is your duty. And he immediately had complete renunciation appear in his heart, and he, sought uh, help from sage Narada. So we have to understand that we have to go to the right source, not be, played by the mind, but in reality, seek a proper guide, proper spiritual master, instructions from bona fide personalities. And sage Narada said, say Rama, and he could not say Rama. He was saying Ram, Ram, Ram. Sometimes we still see people when they're chanting the holy name, they are saying Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. They are not saying Rama, they are saying Ram. So he had the same issue. He was saying Rama. And Sage Narada was saying, say Rama. Then realizing that he cannot say Rama, his attitude is to just say Ram. He said, say Mara. Mara, 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 Mara. And so the combination after first Ma is taken away, it becomes Rama, 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 Rama. And that personality became Sage Valmiki, who wrote Ramayana. So we have to understand what our true reality is, what our true identity is. And this is coming to N is for nurturing real identity. So our real identity is not this body, but spirit soul. Jivera Surupaya Krishna Nityadas, an eternal servant of Lord Krishna. Krishna Tathashta Shakti. So we are the marginal potency, Bheda Bheda Prakash. When we are engaged in service of Krishna, then we are properly aligned. It doesn't mean that we become Krishna. No, we are still the eternal servant of Krishna. He is our master. But the same Krishna, where we see, is protecting, the Vrajvasis from the torrential rain. The same Krishna, because it's a relationship of love, becomes the chariot driver of Arjuna. So in love, father, picks up the son and puts him on his shoulder. Doesn't mean that the son has become a greater personality. It's the love of father that's glorifying the child. So similarly, when Krishna becomes the chariot driver, he is still the supreme personality of Godhead, but he has accepted. When you become a chariot driver of some personality, of what the responsibility of chariot driver used to be, that you have to make sure that the warrior is nicely, yes, nicely dressed for the fight. Then, before he gets onto the charioteer has to put all the horses and chariot together. He has to assemble the whole thing. Then he has to give his hand first, on which the warrior will step because the step on the chariot is much higher. So then the second step will be on the chariot, and then the warrior will get onto the chariot, and then the charioteer will get on. And as he is holding the reins, what's happening? There's just so much sound, so much clashing of metals around. There's no way he can hear, go left, go right, go fast, go slow. So the warrior has to kick the back. If the warrior kicks on the left side, then the charioteer will take to the left. And the kick is hard, then you have to take it faster. The kick is slow, then take it slow. The warrior kicks on the right side, then you go to the right side. Warrior kicks on the back, middle back, then you go straight. So Lord Krishna is getting kicked all day long as a charioteer. And at the end of the day, he's making sure that the warrior is, he's nicely taken bath, and he's nicely, all the medicinal herbs have been applied to all his wounds, and he's sleeping. The charioteer goes, disassembles the whole chariot, makes sure that the horses are nicely fed and they're given bath as well. Then he comes and he sleeps. With the warrior sleeping on a bed, the charioteer has to sleep at the entrance of the door, so that if somebody tries to come and kill the warrior, then they have to pass through the charioteer. So that is the responsibility of a charioteer, and Lord Krishna was charioteer in Kurukshetra war. And also before, there was one occasion where Agni wanted to devour the whole forest because he wanted the herbs for his proper digestive system to function. At that time, also Lord Krishna became charioteer, but that was just for a short time. So we have to understand that we have to come to the true realization in our lives, and we have to nurture our true identity. And when we are nurturing our true identity, why we are nurturing? Because we are all seeking happiness. And that happiness comes from relationship. If somebody was to look at it, even people who sometimes they buy things, right? They think that those things will make them happy, but in reality, if there is no reciprocation, then it's very difficult to feel that happiness. So here, entering eternal relationship with Krishna is very important, because when we are engaged in serving Krishna, then everything works in our favor. Sarv dhamam prityaja mam ekam sharanam vaja aham tvam sarvo papebhyo mokshishashmi mashacha. Lord Krishna's instruction, the final instruction, Bhagavad Gita, is to give up all varieties of religion. Just surrender unto me. So he's asking for exclusive surrender to him. And that he will deliver us from all anxieties, from all fears. And there is no doubt. We should not doubt. We should not worry, have no fear. So that's his promise. And from Bhagavad Gita, is that promise looks, oh, I have to surrender first. But then same Krishna appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. And they went around asking people to take to the chanting of the holy name. Because by chanting of the holy name, our dominant consciousness of our true spiritual identity will reawaken, and our devotional life will become prominent. And when taking to devotion for the pleasure of Krishna, we engage all our actions for the pleasure of Krishna. Yat karoshi yadasnasi, yat juhoshi tadasi, yat tapasyasi kante, tat karishwa madhya pranam. Lord Krishna says that whatever activities you do, whatever charity you give, whatever austerities you perform, whatever sacrifices you make, everything with our mind, body, and words, all activities should be done as an offering to me. So this is what we do. We do all our activities with mind, body, and words for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. And then everything becomes enlivened because we see his presence in our life. And that's where all our senses become fully satisfied and we experience bliss. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So this is where we would like to, cover this MINE acronym, where M stands for Maya of Aham Mameti. I refers to illusion of possessions, N refers to nurturing real identity, and A is for entering eternal relationship. So this mood of surrender is not a weakness. It is the greatest strength that we can possess. Srila Prabhupada, he would say that surrender to Krishna means to accept everything favorable for devotional service, reject everything unfavorable, have firm faith that Krishna will protect, accept Krishna as one's maintainer, always feel oneself meek and humble, and fully dedicate oneself to Krishna. So this mood destroys the illusion of mind, M-I-N-E, and establishes the truth of time, that everything belongs to Krishna. And at this point, I would like to invite Devi to further introduce. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Tantra Srimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vind ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I totally believe that everybody has got a very clear idea, actually better clarity in terms of spirituality, what they need to do, whether they have to take gradual steps or they need to bring some improvement in the way they are making offerings or engaging in devotional service, trying to embrace the instructions of Guru and Krishna, the instructions of senior devotees, so they can work on the shortcomings, live with acceptance, um, feel nourished with the wisdom from Srimad Bhagavatam, especially these verses, Srimad Bhagavatam gems. We have been doing Shravan and Kirtan of. Another quick thing I wanted to just quickly add. These are the verse, Prabhuji, you have shared is from chapter 5, Canto 5, chapter 5, verse 8. But this chapter talks about Lord Rishabdev's teachings to his sons. And Lord Rishabdev, in several verses, he has identified that those who are engaged in sense gratification, who act piously or impiously, cannot understand the purpose of the soul. And then, attachment happens. But fortunately, we have the gift of Krishna consciousness in this life, and we can learn how to transform this attachment to detachment in a way. We don't reject loving relations, yet we serve them, we share Krishna with them in a way that they feel accepted, included, and they also make spiritual progress. And this is all possible if one can identify early on that they need to approach highly elevated devotees. And with their association, they will be able to understand the purpose of life and can attain devotional service to the Lord, detachment from material things, and tolerance of miseries and distress. And in this way, this repeatedly keeps coming up in different verses you have taken, how one can develop the higher vision, how one can develop the eagerness to know about transcendental subject matters, how one can endeavor persistently for satisfaction of Krishna. Some siddhir haritoshnam. And in this way, so I just wanted to mention this because people become really worried. Devotees initially they become worried. Oh, will I become detached from my family? Who is going to take care of them? And meanwhile, time is running out, and one needs to understand what is this self realization. what are what is this art of not engaging in any material activities? So there is so much one can learn beautifully under the guidance of the practicing devotees by serving them. Srimad Bhagavatam says serving a Vaishnava means serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this way, Shukdev Goswami, who is narrating the Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, and then eventually there is so much nesting of conversations, and now we are reading about Lord Rishabdev, who is sharing with his sons, my dear boys, he's giving them this beautiful knowledge that one who has been awarded this human form of life should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. So one should engage in penance and austerity to attain divine position of devotional service. In this way, one can purify their heart and attain eternal blissful life. And which is what exactly you nicely covered in your talk, to transcend from this I, me, mine, ownership, proprietorship mindset, and which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever, eternally in the service of the Lord. So, Prabhuji, I think we can wrap up the call now. It's time.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you again for joining us today. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki Janant Koti Vaishnav Vind ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Tat Sat. Have a wonderful week in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.